Ladies and gentlemen, November is right around the corner. It is our patriotic duty that once every 4 years, we get to select a candidate that is not only qualified, but resonates the American spirit. And in the running, I give you Joe 2020. No, not that Joe. Joe Tyson. Yes, go to joeshrimpshack.com and show your patriotic pride by using Aquarium Guys promo code at checkout. 15% off. What's more American than saving some money? Show your patriotic pride. Pick either blue shrimp, red shrimp, or if you're weird, green shrimp. I mean, those are a candidate as well. So I've been told. It's your American duty. joeshrimpshack.com. Show your pride.
I'm Joe Tyson, and I approve this message.
Welcome to the Aquarium Guys podcast with your hosts, Jim Colby and Rob Zolson.
Oh man, did my cat leave that? That was you, Jimmy. That was Guys, welcome to the podcast. I am your host, Rob Zolson.
I'm Jim Colby.
And Adam isn't here because we're doing this on a Friday
afternoon.
And Adam has a real job. So
and the rest of us do not.
Not on Friday afternoons.
No.
Mm-mm.
So this is our little Friday afternoon delight. We've got a very big star that we're going to be interviewing here shortly.
We'd like to welcome Josh Pickett. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
Josh, welcome to the podcast. We're happy to have you on. Are you ready to get beaten up?
Oh, yeah. Fire away.
Fire away. So for those that are listening, this episode is going to be about Bichirs. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Let's just start with that. What's the pronunciation exactly? Did I hit it?
Yeah, Bichirs. Spot on. Not birches or bikers or anything. Yeah, Bichirs.
Or bitches.
Yeah,
not that either.
Bitch and bikers. That's not it.
Bitch and bikers.
We've heard it all. We really have. So it's a wonderful fish. If you guys have not heard of it or pronounce it in some other way, it is a wonderful kind of low bottom dwelling fish in your tank. That's more of a predatory fish. It looks like half between a snake and a dinosaur. It's a fantastic fish. There is not a ton of detailed media about it, and Josh happens to be making the handbook for the Bichir. Before we get into news, tell us more about it.
Yeah, Bichirs are absolutely brilliant fish. They're really not really understood. You go on Google, go anywhere. I mean, there's so much misinformation about them. I mean, you just go to Google, type in Polypterus weeksy, and like Heezy pop up. Same with P. palmus. Poly pops up. These are all other species, but yeah, no, absolutely brilliant fish. And I sort of feel a book is really needed. I mean, I'm by far not the expert on them. There's plenty of experts out there that cover this, but I mean, I've got a graphic design and editorial background, and I just enjoy keeping the fish. So I kind of want to bring the science and the art together and create a nice little book. It'll keep the care of them all right.
So for those that are wondering, it's thebishirhandbook.com. And again, we'll have that link in the show notes description. It is not yet out. It is just being finished. Is that correct?
Yeah, probably about a month, maybe a month and a half before it's done.
Excellent. Well, maybe if we pull our cards right and open our wallet, we can even put a Aquarium Guys advert in there,
There we go.
Jimmy? Well, thanks again for coming on the show. Again, we'll go more in-depth topic, and we just got to make sure we're reviewing questions here. Jimmy, how was your week?
My week's been wonderful. My pond leaked. I have it tore apart, and I haven't got it put back together yet.
Did you figure out what happened?
Not yet. I got it drained, and that's as far as I got.
So kids didn't drop a M80 in it?
We don't think so, but
the
neighborhood kids are pretty rambunctious.
Right.
So
you are in front of a park for a reason.
Yes. Yeah, we found a few new golf balls in the yard over the weekend. Kids were golfing across the street, and so I saw who it was, so I thought, I'm going to keep them. I didn't give the golf balls back.
I mean, who gives a golf ball back anyway?
No. It's in my yards.
That's just waiting to get hit by the lawnmower.
Exactly.
So this week, I have finally decided that, especially since we did our low cost podcast,
Yes.
I'm going full forward with the sump idea. I have 2 aquariums next to each other, a 75 gallon and a 125 tall. I'm going to put a trickle tower wet dry sump filter combo, and I'm going to run both of them off of it.
You need some help putting that together?
I do, because I'm inept.
I'll see if Adam will come up and help you, because I ain't doing it.
Wonderful. You're on vacation next week, aren't
I'm
you?
on vacation next week. We are going to be going out and about for a little bit, and then we'll be back the following week.
Secure camping, because that's really all we can do during COVID.
Yeah, pretty accurate. We got a couple things planned, but I'll tell you about them later.
No licking doorknobs. You can only lick pine trees, Jimmy.
That's correct.
Excellent. Well, as far as questions go, since we're doing this on an off day, we answered a good chunk of them already, but we do want to do a follow-up for one of our questions that we had. Peter, that was messaging in about his aquarium and having different issues with brown algae. He says that he is going to follow up with us. He is feeding a lot. He's going to move to one type of food per feeding and then rotate the food and go on a normal schedule, reduce light exposure.
Yeah, Peter had sent us a message, and we thought several different things were not quite right. And so we gave him some advice, and so it looks like he's going to take most of the advice and see what happens. So if it's still full of brown algae in a couple of months, then it'll be back on us.
Yep, and again, the main thing to reduce is because he has a cold water tank. He did take the heater out. He has sunfish is primarily the fish in the tank. So cold water fish don't need to be fed as often. They need every other day cold water fish, unless you're raising the temperature. Goldfish, for instance, at 55 degrees, shouldn't even be fed. They should be fed probably once a month, lightly. And even then, they'll pick at it. So cold water fish, if the temperature is low enough, you don't have to feed often. I do every other day. If you have it above, say, 76 degrees, treat it more like a tropical fish where you feed it every day, but I'd still pick one day a week. Just feeding in general. If you have 7 days, one day should be a fast day for fish. You shouldn't feed every day of the week. And even so, the amount you feed or what you feed matters. So if it's something that's going to be like a Tubiflex square that's going to last a couple hours, I love long lasting food like that. But if you're doing pellets or flake at the top, do what they consume. Don't overfeed. Don't let it get stuck in the filter and causing more bacteria in the tank.
Sometimes less is better.
Less is more, unless
it involves alcohol or hookers.
Or you're at Taco Bell like Rob's.
That's right. Taco Bell.
Taco Bell. All right. So that finishes up the questions. Adam, we miss you. How could you have a job?
I know. Anyway, everybody loves Adam so much, and now we're going to get a lot of crap because he's not on this podcast.
We are. It's amazing that the fandom that we have for Adam.
Yes.
Where's my fandom, right?
None.
Instead, this last week, I had submitted by one of the listeners a wonderful picture. They made me look like the Smurf man. I don't know. They blue hair, blue beard. They put Nike logos for my eyebrows. So thank you for that. While Adam instead gets called sexy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying that this podcast is hella biased. All right, well, let's get right into the topic. I know it's late for you. It's about almost 9 o'clock your time. Correct, Josh?
Yeah, 10 to 9.
Well,
All good there.
Let's make this easy on you, buddy. Let's dive right into the topic. So we ask everybody, what got you into the passion of aquariums?
I have a very obsessive personality. I liked fish, and that sort of just happened. I don't know. I love fish. I used to go on river walks all the time when I was in school. I was like a member of this gay little RSPB club. It was great fun. But usually river walks all the time, spot fish, net fish, watch birds. And in the end, I sort of just really wanted to set up my own tank, my own native tank. I must have been about 10 or 11 years old. Went ahead, set up the tank, and sort of got hooked from there on, and ended up, delving into African fish and all sorts of oddballs.
And where did you grow up?
Salisbury in Wiltshire, near where that poisoning was, the cathedral.
I'm not familiar.
England.
I'm not familiar.
I feel like there's a story.
He's from out of town.
I'm out of town.
God, no, there was There was that Skripal poisoning, the Russian poisoning, wasn't there?
Yesterday.
You don't know this?
No.
Oh God, no! This was like a year or so ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my hometown. Yeah, this Russian ex-spy was poisoned literally a few blocks away from my hometown.
Oh, I did hear a little bit about that.
Was that him and him and his daughter? Is that the one?
Yeah, it was him and his daughter. I think they both survived, but there was residue of the poison from one of the local people as well. So it was one of my friends. Well, not really friends. It was sort of more someone, my babysitter when I was a kid.
Hold on, don't divulge all the information of your secret agent status.
Well, no, it's not so much. But unfortunately, his mum was one of the victims that actually, came into contact with it and passed away. That was the Novichok poison. So
wow,
that was bloody. That sort of took.
What a terrible small world.
And who was poisoned yesterday? It was Putin's main.
That was his opposition, wasn't it?
His opposition yesterday.
He's been in power for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, he got poisoned yesterday, and he is in a coma in serious condition. I saw a video of him being taken off the airplane. He was on a commercial flight from Siberia to Moscow, I believe. I could be wrong. Right. And they took him off that airplane. He was screaming. He was in so much pain. And they figure he got poisoned in Siberia. And last night on our local, not our local news, but our national news, they showed the last 6 or 7 people that had had an outing with Putin. And they showed how all 6 of them have died from poisoning. But Putin's got nothing to do with it.
Something sketchy going on.
Well,
there.
A little sketchy. I just want to put it out there that thanks for having the international crew, but we're now on a list. I mean, we're already on our own government's list. Now we're on multiple governments' lists.
No, I'm just saying. I'm repeating what I saw on TV. This is not my own theory. I don't want to die.
I love this podcast so much. We ask what brought them into aquariums, and now we're talking about the Russian government.
That's right.
I love it. It doesn't get better than this, ladies and gentlemen. So, what got you into loving Bichirs so much?
It sounds weird, but they're really elongated, eel-like fish. There's something phallic about them that really feels like probably says more something about me, really, than... But anyway, it's great fish. It just so happens that they're phallic. It's got nothing to do with the phallus at all. It's just they happen to be phallic. But they're great fish. I don't know. I love them. I was drawn to them. I think I started off with a Senegal and a Laprade Bichir. Named it Baz, the Senegal. And then the next thing you know, I woke up one day and I had every single Bichir species, and I was like, "Fuck, where did that come from?"
That's wonderful. So yeah. I mean, I can relate with the phallic deal, right? Me and my wife, we absolutely adore weather loaches. So we have the golden dojo loaches, and trust me, they are hard penis size. So we call them the penis fish. It's comical, and they're one of the few species where you put your hand in and you interact with them. They come up, they swim right in your hand looking for food. It's a very weird thing having that type of species. So I can totally relate with the cartoony looks of a phallic species.
It's the only time that Rob gets something large in his hand like that. Is when he grabs his golden dojo load.
This is why we don't do podcasts on Friday.
That's right, because
there's just too much booze involved.
A little squirrely,
right?
But I'm sitting right next to Rob's 75-gallon tank, and he's got at least 3 or 4, and they're all about 9-10 inches long, and they're absolutely huge. Can you see them in there? Probably not.
Probably not.
We'll have to show you here after the podcast, but yeah, Rob,
definitely.
But anyway, Rob's beautiful wife calls them her penis fish, which I don't understand, but.
I mean
10-inch penis fish. I'll give you credit there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm just a short little fat white guy, and I'm impressed.
All right, moving on. So, number one, we went over pronunciations. I figured that was like the biggest thing to hit right away.
Bitchin' bikers. So,
on pronunciation don't really matter. Language evolves and changes all the time. I mean, it came originally from an Arabic name. For spiny fish that live in the River Nile. And then, of course, one of Napoleon's naturalists during the French conquest of Egypt just spotted it in the Nile River, named it at Bichir after, Christ, what was it called now?
Probably his ugly mother-in-law.
Yeah, no, well, it was the native... It was a native Arabian word, called Abu Shir, and he thought it was two words, A Bouchier, so he just called it Bashir, when really it was just Abu Shir. And then he sort of changed the name, retained the pronunciation Bashir, and it's been spelt Bishir on occasion. You can go back on a few studies and see that, but it changed to the CH pronunciation.
So I'm assuming there's a lot of these left in the wild. It's not something that's come, at risk, especially in the Nile River.
No, there's an abundance of them. Although in Egypt, I don't think any have been caught in Egypt since their discovery. So they may be not extinct, but probably approaching, extinction in Egypt.
Like possibly. Every animal out there, habitat is always an issue. So you may not find them everywhere they used to be, but there's still plenty in existence. Whereas other aquarium species, there are species that are completely extinct and only found commonly in the aquarium trade. So it's nice to hear that there's still quite a few out there. But now, as far as care, I just want to dive into that because I'm going through the list on your website, and there's a few do's and don'ts that I want to go over on this particular species. It's a predatory fish, so immediately people are trying to worry about aggression. Will stuff fit in its mouth? That's pretty common. Its mouth happens, when I see them, it's as big around as its body. So what tank mates can you have with a Bichir?
It completely depends on species. I'd avoid small little pelagic fish, even medium-sized pelagic fish, because they like to ambush their prey. They'll come right up underneath and then open its mouth using inertial suction, sucks the prey in completely. Or if it's too big, it death rolls pieces off of them like crocodiles. So
really,
yeah. There's some videos on YouTube putting like Bichir death roll, and it's ridiculous. I saw one. There's one circulating of what was it called? An arapaima, a young arapaima getting death rolled by some Bichirs. Some muppet just put like 100 Bichirs in a tank with an arapaima.
Jeez, I've had Bichirs about twice. One was a donation; someone got it. They said it ate their, I think it was a loach whole.
Yeah.
And they just didn't want it anymore. And the other one I purchased and sold to someone. So I always had them alone. I've never had them with a lot of tank mates because I didn't even want to play the game. If I didn't have the knowledge and background, I just didn't want to risk it. So I kept them alone. They were pretty large size. And it's literally like having a sea serpent in your tank with sizable teeth. It's quite the mean-looking individual.
Yeah, they've even got like conical tooth patches right on the roof of their mouth as well. So when they grip down on their prey, there's no way that prey is going to get out of its mouth, not unless it pulls out all of those teeth, which is those teeth are like a Velcro-like grip. So bloody horrible. But they won't bite you though. Honestly, you wiggle your finger right in front of them. Probably won't bite you.
Probably.
I've not tested that theory, but I think you could be all right.
Yeah, I was about to ask you if they've ever bit your hand or finger. But I
know one guy that was bitten. Well, it wasn't so much himself that was bitten, but I think he dipped something in the tank and his weak sea just grabbed onto it. But I've not seen that as the norm. Normally, they just panic and dart away. They don't have very good eyesight as well, so they'll feel the vibration, think, fuck, that's probably a predator, dart away.
So I was going to ask that. Every time I've had issues with Bichirs, with people, customers, people messaging us, is they have it where they're skittish. And I always thought that could it be vision, but it always seems like loud noises. You drop something in the house, or
vibrations,
or you play music, and I hear people with issues of them shooting out of their tank like a rocket.
Yeah.
That's pretty common
really,
then.
Really skittish. Quite a lot of them are wild caught as well. There's a fair few that have, most of them have been bred in captivity now. I think Winksy is the only one that's not been bred in captivity, and I found they have been the shyest. Like especially Moklembembe, that's another one. That's a great one that's named after like a mythical sauropod-like creature, the Moklembembe. Yeah, no, they can be super shy. There's probably a few like P. senegalis and P. poli that happily dart around somewhere around the tank. But yeah, they're very sensitive to noise. They don't have the best eyesight, although they do have good night vision. They have these tapetum crystals in the back of their eye, which reflects available light, increasing their vision, but blurs their vision a little bit slightly as well. You see it in like deep sea animals and a fair few nocturnal predators. But that means sort of any movement you do, you got like a bright white top on and a dark background. They'll see that movement and they'll think, "Fuck, that thing's big." Just dart away.
So again, they hunt by vibrations or scent. I'm assuming.
Yeah. They use all sorts of scents. Yeah.
So when you feed, I'm assuming you use pellet based. Most people don't use a lot of live food, just for the fact that most of the time when you get live food, there could be a lot of parasites, a lot of issues. So how do you feed your Bichirs?
Yeah, I don't think live food's needed. I normally feed a mixture between insects, fresh fish, and quality carnivore pellets. I'll probably feed probably about a quarter, maybe a fifth of a tub, probably a tub like that every. I mean, I've got like 40 of them, so I just dump loads of that in. I feed every other day. They do something called stomach packing, where they'll eat as much food as they can, and that will keep them well fed for about 2 or 3 days, and they won't need to eat. Obviously, you got to be careful, really balance out the protein and the what's it called, the fat content as well, just to make sure they don't want to get fatty liver disease.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They really suffer from fatty liver disease, especially when people feed them a lot of beef and bird, like chicken. So beef and chicken are probably some of the worst things to feed them.
See, I know some species like Arapaima, they need the fat. Some catfish absolutely need the fat. I know other species, Oscars, do not need the fat. So as far as predatory species, trying to learn their balanced diet is much more than just giving them a massivore pellet. It's definitely a learning curve. Did not know that Bichirs need to be lean.
I like the term stomach packing. And reminds me when Rob and I, we go to the Golden Corral here.
Stomach packing.
Stomach packing.
We're good for at least 4 to 5 hours.
That's right. That. We go to the local buffet and eat all the chicken and beef we can get our hands on.
Also, fatty liver disease. See that? We're very in common with these things.
Yes, we're just like these things.
So
I wouldn't say that they probably need it. They wouldn't need as much fat as a fair few other fish, like say the African arowana, which is constantly using up its fat reserves,
right?
Because it's constantly swimming, grinding up its food. Whereas a Bichir, I mean, not too fatty, but I mean, I can't see much more than. Actually, I have to put up the stats, but it's not a ridiculous amount of fat they need.
Well, if you're going to do a protein like fish, extremely lean, just doing any white fish. You mentioned chicken and beef. People do beef for discus, beef heart. I don't really know where that started, but it does. I mean, clearly works. It is certainly a high fat concentrate when you use like beef heart. So
I think I know a little bit
different.
About that. I could butcher the explanation.
Butcher it, please.
Yes. No, I worked in a fish store, and of course my old boss used to travel around all the time and find out diets, and you get like Japanese koi collect as well. But when it came to discus, I think it's something to do with it was a lot of the things that the breeders started using because they wanted to pack on the size a lot faster, and they obviously supplemented that with a lot of carotenoids to help increase colours. But it's not something you really want to do in the long term because fish don't have this type of enzyme called collagenase. I think that's how you pronounce it. And because of that, they're unable to break down the collagen in the bonds of mammalian and avian meat. So, and that's what can cause fatty liver disease, organ degeneration, and fat deposits.
I mean, anytime you feed any fish, you have to ask yourself, what are you trying to do with the fish? Are you trying to change its color? Are you trying to get size in a quicker fashion? Maybe you're trying to sell the fish. Are you trying to keep its long lifespan? If you're doing a lifespan, even if it's just a normal like flake, say like a rainbow fish, every other day is completely fine. That's what I do with most of my tanks, depending on what I have in there. Even betas, especially betas, because they seem to carry a lot of their mass and then have issues and shorten their lifespan. So if you're keeping a fish just for the sake of having a long lifespan, lower the temperature slightly, don't feed as often, and that goes for any fish in my opinion. But yeah, beef heart, I've heard color properties as well.
And I've also heard too, to get your pairs into breeding condition and stuff. I've heard that also. Do the Bichirs? Am I pronouncing this wrong? Bichirs?
He's doing it on purpose.
Bichirs. Do you feed any like frozen bloodworms or frozen brine shrimp? Will they take that?
Oh yeah, they'll eat pretty much anything. They're so opportunistic. You can give them a fucking hamburger and they'll eat it.
Really?
And they wouldn't leave any. I mean, I've not tried it, but I mean they will. I mean they eat like spirulina pellet, sort of all sorts. Yeah.
So they're kind of a scavenger by nature. Pretty much eat whatever you throw at them.
Yeah, I mean they'll scavenge, they'll hunt, they'll as long as it's something they think is fairly edible, they'll go for it.
I'm kind of the
Including
same way.
tanglers.
Do you have any problems after when breeding and just having freshly hatched Bichirs? Do you have any problems feeding? Like with arowana, for instance, you get an arowana, it hatches out of the egg. It still has a yolk. You cannot feed them or should not feed them until the yolk is fully dissolved, right? And then afterwards, the only thing I can do for arowanas is feed them crickets because it has to move. They have a instinctive nature that they have to have it move. So you have to almost acclimate them into normal food. So you use crickets. You essentially wean them out of crickets. You try to use krill, small freeze-dried krill. And I always use it like either on a piece of string or a tweezer, a long tweezer, and try to acclimate the movement motion so they hit it. But is there any difficulties with small Bichirs?
Yeah, there's huge difficulties with it. I mean, I've not even bred Bichirs myself, but I know a fair few people that have it. It's not something I've really attempted yet. But yeah, I've always been told that you just feed small microcrustaceans, small, inverts really, and they will take it. But there's a mistake. One of my friends, he fed brine shrimp. Of course, he made the mistake. He didn't even take out the brine. So as he put it in, he ended up killing quite a lot of them. But they've been breeding, all the bloody time. I think he gets like hundreds of them, per batch. So yeah, they are quite difficult to raise. I think it was Dr. Ralph Britt and his partner, I think it's Rita. They bred ropefish in the 90s, and they had trouble rearing them. And I don't think no fry has lived past a year old, possibly even no more than 8 months old for ropefish. So they're, all still commercially wild caught at the moment.
Really?
Yeah.
What a challenge. No wonder the price is so high.
Yeah, that's something a lot of people are trying to breed at the moment. But, I mean, there's successful breeding and successful spawning, but not really successful rearing of the fry yet.
So how big are fry? Are they quite tiny when they're hatched, or is it something like, arowana are pretty sizable when they're just hatched?
No, they're tiny. No, Bichirs are tiny.
So
they come out, they're millimeters.
Daphnia feeding, I'm assuming, would be an idea, like live cultures?
Yeah. Daphnia is perfect.
And how many babies do they have at a crack? And what can you tell us about the breeding aspect of them? Are they laying eggs?
That and what music gets them in the mood?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't know about music. It's going to be Christ, what's his name now? Guy who done the music for Tarzan and Phil Collins.
It's Phil Collins.
That's going to be the one.
Some Phil Collins music right here.
Right here.
So just play Phil Collins, and they'll just start breeding for you. Now, breeding with them is fairly easy. I mean, you get a male. Most males will become sexually mature in about a year, maybe 2, and they'll start doing something with their anal fin called cupping. And they literally do that. That's sort of what stimulates them. And they end up releasing their sperm, like their milk, their sperm into this little cup out of their anal fin. And what they do is they wrap that round the female's anal fin. And if she's willing, she will release the eggs into that anal fin, into his anal fin. He'll fertilize them, and then he'll scatter the eggs into some plants. And they normally hatch within a fair few days.
Wow, what a process!
Yeah,
it's like a pass off.
It's kind of like child abandonment, isn't it?
Yeah, they won't even look after them, and if they find them, a lot of the time they'll just eat the fry. So they're not the best parents.
Bad parents.
How long does it take for the fry to hatch and develop?
On average,
I can't remember off by heart. I think it's barely under a week. I'll have to check. I can't remember off by heart. I've got a documented breeding record of them. I'll have to check that. But yeah,
he'll have to check his handbook.
Oh, mate, that's been fun making. Now, there is something really cool about that, though. By the way, when it comes to the eggs, something that was, I think, only published in 2017. So Professor Robert Cerny from, what's it called? Sorry, mate, I've been drinking too much at the moment. From this really good university. I'll just say that.
Really good university.
Yeah, really good university. Oh, what's it called? Oh, this is really bugging me now. Hold on.
It's a top university.
I have the email.
2,000 years later.
Okay, now the email's not loading.
We put him on the spot. How dare we?
We can edit stuff. Don't worry about it.
This is editable, right, Scrap?
We edit stuff all the time. I shouldn't say we. Our
You're
editor
going to put this in raw. I know it, you bastards.
we might play the theme from Jeopardy right here too.
Oh, please don't. Please don't.
We do that to Adam all the time. It's kind of fun for us.
It is fun, yes. Well, while you're looking that up, I know there's in the common fish market we see like 4 species on fish lists. We see we only go by common names: ornate, dinosaur.
Yep.
I think there's like a albino we see in the list traditionally.
Albino dinosaur, yeah.
I'm trying to think of the last one. My mind's gone.
Oh, Barney.
I think the snake skin one, I think, is just the ornate, and they just give it the terrible name. What's some of the other species you see commonly?
Oh, Christ. I found the university, by the way.
Oh,
It's
let's do that
Charles
first.
University in Prague. Fucking knew it. There we go. Right, anyway, about the species. There's currently, I mean, they're always changing. There's 13 species. Christ, I can do them off by heart now. There's the Senegal Bichir, which is the one you probably call the dinosaur Bichir. You
Right.
get like albino variations, platinums, a lot.
Right.
You've got Tegelsi, which is like it's like the ornate Bichir. Gets around 30 inches, very colourful. Absolute cut. It will bite pretty much any other Teg Bichir you've got in there. There's the ornate. There's the Endler Cherry, Moklembembe, Retropinus, Delhesi, Palmus, which did used to have a subspecies.
Is that one fish that you just named right there?
Which one?
You just listed off a bunch of stuff. I don't want to know if that's like one full scientific
Oh no,
name.
that's
Multiple
no,
ones.
that's
Okay.
Including the Retropenis.
There's multiple. Yeah.
You made me
Everyone calls it Retropinus. I can't unhear it. Can't unhear it. But no, they're small. They're like 6. I say small one, but I mean they're still like 16-inch. I mean, come on. I mean a Retropinus like that's fair size, but it's the girth on it isn't really anything to be proud of.
It's not so much the girth, it's the length.
I'm having so much fun today.
That's the main thing. Now, hold on. About those eggs quick before I bloody forget.
Yes, let's get that, and then I have more immature questions.
Oh, no worry. Right. So these eggs. Trying to think what I was going to say now. Right. So they've got Bichirs have pre-vertebrate features. This is something. I mean, this is exclusive for you now, really. I mean, it's going in the book, but they've got these pre-vertebrate features in their eggs, which they sort of develop these things called. Where is it? It's bloody annoying now. Cement glands, that's it. These adhesive organs, and it's just the way these cement glands form. Which this helps them sort of stick to the plants, and it's the way these cement glands form, which is something that shows that they're very comparable to other pre-vertebrates, really.
So it's not a loose scatter; it's a sticky scatter.
It's an adhesive scatter.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, pretty much that. Yeah.
So in breeding these, do you want to have, like, for instance, angelfish, discus? You want to have like a slate or something, or a leafy plant so they can go on. So these, again, are bottom dwelling fish. So do you want to have caves? Do you want to have objects? What would you need for them to encourage the,
Scattering of eggs.
Honestly, all you need is something like AstroTurf. Silicone a bit of AstroTurf, plastic AstroTurf.
Really?
To some slate and put it in the tank. Yeah. That seems to be the most successful.
Just kind of grippy, kind of like a grassy mess.
Do the eggs fall down into the AstroTurf? So
they'll fall right in, and you can pick it up, take the eggs out, put them in a separate breeding tank, and then just grow them out.
If you guys are looking to purchase a piece of AstroTurf, there is coated and uncoated. So make sure to do your homework if you're going to buy AstroTurf. I know this because of other projects I've tried to do. So check your AstroTurf, but that's fascinating. Just
get your aquarium safe AstroTurf.
The dinos that look like phalluses are football fans and like to dump eggs in AstroTurf. Who knew?
Totally makes sense.
I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated. So what is like the rarest, hardest to find species or most expensive species? Because we're going to have questions on this for sure.
Oh, right. There's one called P. Bichir, Polypterus bichir. It did used to be called PBB, which is the Nile Bichir. That was the first one that was discovered. The most expensive one of them, it was from Lake Turkana, and I think it sold for around $8,000, something along the lines of that. I don't think you pay that much for them at the moment, but yeah. A lot of them have these beautiful spoon head shapes, Turkana PBB. It was probably a lot more than that, actually, thinking about it. I can't remember how much it was off by heart, but it was a lot. It was sold to, I think it was some guy in Japan. Just just big wig in Japan. So
these things are not readily available. This is kind of like a one-time deal.
Oh yeah, ones from Lake Turkana are fairly hard to come by. It's getting better at the moment, but it's just very dangerous to collect from Lake Turkana at the moment. I mean, I know some people that have gone there with armed guards just to get get fish.
I'm assuming, is it because of hippos? Is it because of crocs?
No, I think there's an ongoing civil war in Kenya around there, and because of that, there's a lot of conflict around there. You've got pirates on the lake. I mean, it's only a shallow lake, but unfortunately, it's exploited quite a lot.
Wow. You figure that would change, as decades roll on. So how long ago was this that it was that popularized or actually sold and collected? Because I'm assuming that this war hasn't lasted forever.
I wouldn't know off by heart with that one.
Interesting.
But,
I got to look that up to see if, there's a coming end to the war or how long that war's gone on, because that'll certainly raise the price. And then maybe see, was it 90s when it was available? Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you can still go there now. I think it's been put on the lake's been put on the World Heritage Danger List at the moment. So we're not sure how many more exports we're going to get out of Lake Turkana at the moment. But I mean, I've seen a fair few come out fairly recently. There's like the Senegal Bichir in Lake Turkana. So Senegal Bichirs, people tend to think they're the smallest ones, the dinosaur Bichir. They get like 8 or 9 inch now, but they can get like 15 or so inch wild caught and captive bred. But the ones from Lake Turkana, the Senegal ones, they can get over 20 inch. So that they get, and they have like a really beautiful flat head too, just like the PBB. So it's really nice.
I even looked it up, and there's not even hardly any photos of this. I think they have a drawing of a sunny gill, so there's just not a lot of information on this.
Tell you what, if you put in Senegal, I'll Google it myself. Senegal Bichir, Lake Turkana, and I'll point out which image it is. Because there is one. There's a huge one in a display tank. Sorry.
And so most of these fish that we're talking about aren't even available to the general public, unless you've got connections with private collectors and that sort of thing.
Or you ask Josh really, really nicely.
Yeah, and he's got an armed guard and goes over there.
Exactly. His beard of knowledge. By the way, for those that are listening, this dude has like the Oak Ridge Boys beard. We're very proud of it. We're jealous, frankly.
It's coming on. Clearly there. I want a proper Gandalf beard. I mean, right down to my belly button.
It is literally Gandalf style. Yeah.
Little ZZ Top going on.
ZZ Top. There you go.
I always get that. I walk down bloody Falmouth or, wherever in Cornwall where I am. And there's always people shouting out ZZ Top all the time.
You have to wear the sunglasses and whatnot.
I do.
We should put some ZZ Top in right here.
Just jam it. So we went through feeding, we went through some of the specialty care, but I feel like there's a lot of specialty care that goes on with this particular species, mainly because I'm looking over your lists on the website. So just to go over a few of these, it says best not to kept on gravel. Why is that?
Right. Well, they're burrowers, and they can end up damaging their tubular nares, that more or less little nostrils. They can damage them quite a lot. Also, they feed using something called inertial suction. So whenever they open their food, they suck in food like a vacuum, and they often suck in the stones as well with them. Most of the time, they'll just spit out those stones, and it's not a problem. But every now and then, because how opportunistic Bichirs can be, they'll end up swallowing that stone, and that can cause things like fatal impaction. You get it a lot with catfish and African clawed frogs and things like that, which is why you're supposed to keep them on sand or bare bottom. But obviously, Bichirs, they have their ganoid scales are quite locked in place. And they've got fairly inflexible scales. So because of that, they can only poo things at a limited size. So they can't really excrete out large stones just because of how locked in place their scales are. So that causes fatal blockages, things like that. So
they don't
it's surprisingly rare, but
they don't exactly do constipation
really
surgery on a Bichir.
Yeah, no, you probably would have to do that, to be fair. But I mean, I don't know many cases where they have died from that. I know enough, but it's not something that happens that often. So you can get away with having Bichirs on gravel for a fairly long time because they just spit it out the most part. But if where you can help it, definitely put them on sand. And I probably wouldn't even go bare bottom, if you can help that as well either, because the substrate almost acts like a traction to slow them down because they dart across. don't forget they like to burrow a lot as well, and they dig for snails too. They like to eat for snails, burrow in the gravel and all sorts like that. So yeah, no, substrate sand is always the best. I mean, I know some people that use cat litter as well. Cat litter substrate.
What?
So that's another. Yeah, it's really popular, but probably the most popular though is like red garnet sand. And yeah, honestly, join like Bashir groups. There's people that got fucking cat litter.
Tidy Cats
great, but
needs to call us. We need to work out a special cat litter just for Bichirs.
I'm thinking they might have a little bit different type of cat litter in the UK than we do.
Apparently, I need to know what's up there. Our cat litter has crystals and shit, and
it smells.
I think
nice.
This is more like Southeast Asia, really. But I know so many people that feed cat food too, like the fish cat food, like Origon, I think it's called, and that's really popular because apparently it's a similar quality to apparently a better quality than aquarium predatory pellets. But I mean, I've not fed it myself, so I can't really test for it,
very weird.
Probably a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So
I think that was the main thing why people were feeding them as well.
Moving on to some of your lists, this is what you guys list as the essentials to know before you buy, and I find this fascinating. You already mentioned don't feed fatty foods if you can help it, but also list oily foods. Why?
Right. Well, the main reason for that was because it just leaves an oily slick on the surface. I mean, that video is completely dated. I'd say fuck it, feed oily foods. Just have a surface skimmer or make sure it sort of dissipates, because when they go up for air, they breathe with their spiracles, and obviously because the oil could end up causing issues, lining their lungs or whatever. I mean, I'm not a vet, so it does cause issues.
They're closer to a beta that actually breathe from the surface from time to time.
Yeah, they have proper lungs. So their lungs have been adapted almost like a swim bladder. They've got like one longer lung. A lot of people make comparisons with them with lobe-finned fish. I think one of the vets that's been helping out with the book, called Dr. Gottstreisman, he's been putting forward the argument that Bichirs aren't actually ray-finned fish, that they're rather lobe-finned fish. And he's compiled this huge amount of data. And it's a really convincing argument. But it just needs. I mean, that's not the consensus at the moment. It's not the scientific consensus. But it's really interesting. Even Emily Standen as well has been helping out with the book. She sort of uses them as a comparison for lobe-finned fish, but she says no, they are really a basal ray-finned fish. We were talking about food, weren't we? Food. Yeah, oily foods is good. It's fine. I mean, that video is super dated. Like I've in the comment section on that video, I've sort of put like updates and changes since that video.
Well, keeping going down the list, they also list don't have Plecos for tank mates. Now, you put on here, get addicted? What's going on?
Right. So I've been working with a few bloody people with this. So it's so weird. So Bichirs have ganoid scale, ganoid scales, don't they? Which is like a type of inorganic bone salt, which apparently I haven't been able to verify this. But the people who've been helping out with the book sort of say, act with caution anyway, because it may make their slime coat slightly salty, and anything that has suckers, flagtails, cynodontists as well, they tend to feed on that slime coat quite a lot, and because of that, you end up losing quite a lot of Bichirs. I mean, Plex are great fish, but they're one of the things that toothless Plex especially, you kind of want to act with caution. You don't want to always put them with them.
That's fascinating to me. Now, I've had issues with certain Pleco varieties go after certain species of fish, and this maybe could explain that. But I know that the Pleco varieties have a very varying diet. So I would like to have like some trial and error. I know it sounds inhumane taking a Bichir and putting it with a Pleco just for research, but I suspect that some breeds are going to do this where others won't. For instance, I believe that clown Plecos will not do that. Clown Plecos are a vivacious wood burrowing species. I have a clown Pleco on hand. I've had them for a long time, and they won't eat certain algae. They will not eat certain pellets. But if you have a piece of wood on it, they will tear it up into pieces. So find a Pleco that has a different diet if you're going to try it. Otherwise, be warned that this is addicted to the scales of the slime coat.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like I said, it is trial and error. You get it a lot on the Facebook groups. I see it almost every week where a Bichir ends up, having its slime coat just stripped by some Plex, large Plex, even small Plex. But it's a lot of the toothless ones that do the most damage. And cynodontists, I'd probably say, worse than Plex completely. But again, it all varies on species. I don't know enough about individual species of Plex or individual species of Cynos. I can only sort of report what I've seen with it, So it's one of those things where trial and error depends on the species. If you're fully aware of what species of Plex you've got, by all means, for the most part, it probably won't happen.
I used to have a ton of angelfish pairs, and one time I threw in like 3 Chinese algae eaters in per tank, and when I came back after the weekend, they had stripped the slime coating off my angelfish and had killed at least one of each fish in each pair, and I was just devastated. And just watching them, they went right after the body slime, and they sat there and sucked on the side of these fish until they killed them.
Yeah, Chinese algae eaters are known for that, and also fake Siamese algae eaters. They get very aggressive fin nipping, and then they'll start sucking slime coats off of anything. So when you get SAE, make sure you're getting the real ones.
Yes.
So going down your list again, we mentioned when we first started the podcast, tank mates and whatnot, and how I was leery about it. There's one specific one on the list that I found very fascinating. It says, take care when mixing stingrays. So what's happening there?
It's one of those things, again, where sometimes it works, a lot of the times it doesn't.
Well, that's an expensive trial right there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. There's some people that swear by it's perfectly fine. But from what I've seen, the most part, it can go quite horribly wrong. Bichirs, big, small. One of my friends, I won't name at the moment, but he got a small little Senegal Bichir to go in with his stingray and ended up death rolling the skin completely off of, one part of its back. And the ray unfortunately died. There's another video that's surfacing around at the moment where a stingray completely pounced on top of a Bichir. I'll send you that one, actually. It's fucking horrible. But yeah, stingray jumps on top of it, pins it down, pretty much drowns it and tries to eat it. There's another one where a Bichir was chewing chunks off of a stingray. But yeah, it can be hit or miss. Or my friend Hampus Hertzman on his YouTube channel, he's got one where the stingray just tagged the Bichir. It went right through its armor. The Bichir died. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's going to be a risk putting them together. I mean, probably more of a risk than mixing other types of predatory fish together. So it's one of those ones where you sort of want to go with caution. If possible, try not to do it.
So, if you've got I'm thinking this should probably be like a species-only tank. Are they predatory towards each other?
Yeah, they can be very predatory. So when they're around about 7 or so inches, it depends species, will reach maturity at different sizes. But they produce this type of growth hormone that released into the water. I mean, I'll have to check my notes to find out what exactly that hormone's called. But it sort of alerts the other tank mates that this is a juvenile. I mean, it's juvenile hormones. So because of that, the Bichirs in the captive environment end up thinking, oh fuck, this is potential competition, and they eat the juveniles. And it happens a lot, which is why you can keep Bichirs together, and there's not a huge risk. But the moment you put one juvenile in with some adults, the adults will very likely eat the juvenile. And when you're keeping juveniles together, the juveniles will likely eat the other juveniles, cannibalize them. But you can keep, you can keep some, 8 or 9 inch with like 2.5 foot long, Bichir, and there's barely much. I mean, it's still some risk, but it's a lot lower risk than say keeping a 5 inch Bichir with an 8 inch Bichir, just because of the juvenile hormones and weird stuff.
That's fascinating.
Well, before we continue, I'm just going to go over questions because we're doing this podcast live on our Discord channel. If you'd like to join the podcast live, go to aquariumguyspodcast.com. On the bottom of the website, you will find a link to Discord. It's a easy-to-use chat client where all our fans are, where you can get your questions answered about your own fish hobby. Again, we're doing this live, so questions that we have, number one is pure cat litter is sold in the U.S., and it's very cheap. So it's pure cat litter, not with all the crystals and other garbage in it. Imagine that's what they mean. When did they start saying Bichirs where the extra R came in? It doesn't make sense to me. I'm so angry. He spells it Birchirs. I just feel that's people being lazy, unless you know of where the extra R always comes in when people try to butcher the name.
No idea with that. It happens a lot in the UK. For some reason, in the UK, people go around saying Bircher a lot. But
I just feel like,
where did that other R come from?
as far as a visual, like I quickly glanced at the word without taking a minute. It's not a word I recognize. It's very close to like a birch tree. I'm just used to having that R there, Bich. Oh, that's definitely a tree. But next question is, do Bichirs require heaters? And are there any small Bichirs out there?
Yeah, it completely depends on what part of the world you're in. I mean, they prefer anywhere between 24 to 29, sometimes 30. I mean, when it comes to keeping Bichirs, they're super easy. So despite all those, fancy bloody rules, I mean, they're not fussy at all. So
you said 24 Celsius? Because I have to do the conversion here because I'm, mentally handicapped.
24 Celsius to, say, 29, 30 Celsius.
So you're looking at 75 degrees all the way up to like 80, 84, 85.
Yeah,
so you got to keep them decently warm.
And the smallest species is Polypterus moklembembe. So it's just that moklembembe Bichir. They reach between 9 to 14 inch.
What's the common name for that species?
Say again?
What's the common name for that species?
It's just called moklembembe. There's not really a common name for it, but it's more or less named after that mythical sauropod creature. So yeah, just moklembembe. But yeah, 9 to 14 inch they'll get, which is just an inch shy of what most Senegal Bichirs will get, to 15 inch. But yeah, they're very slow growing, really shy, don't really eat a hell of a lot. They're primarily insectivores, but they also act like piscivores as well. It depends on where in the Congo you found them.
Now, most of the ones that we can get here in the U.S. come to us about, I want to say, somewhere between the 3 to 4 inch range. How long does it take them to get into adulthood? Do they grow very quickly? Or is it all about how much you feed them?
It again, depends on diet, but they can grow very fast. I mean, some of them could grow from a quarter of an inch a month to 3 inch a month up until a certain, 12 to 14 inch or so. And it just gets progressively slower each year. They can live in excess 40 years. So
40? 40?
Yeah, 40 years. Yeah. I think the oldest on record, official record, I think was 38 years old. But I heard someone really fairly recently in the group claim to have one about 39 years old. But obviously, we're taking much better care of them now. I mean, they've only recently grown in popularity in the hobby. I think in the last, 20 odd years, something like that. So now a lot more people are having bigger tanks. They're understanding how to care for them better. So I think the lifespan is going to go beyond what we've seen so far. So over 40.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's like goldfish level right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, they can get stupidly big sizes as well, some of them. I mean, say the two largest species are Ansorgi Bichir and the Kongi Bichir, the giant Bichir. They can get about, I think the largest reported size I've heard is just over 1 meter long for both of them.
So 3 feet long.
So,
holy crap.
So the next question we have from one of our listeners is, what is the species you recommend for someone that's beginning for the first time?
Oh, Poli. 100%. Poli is lovely. Very active, eats a lot, fairly interactive as well. Don't get very big, again, around about 15 or so inch, but that is best case scenario. I mean, you could probably expect them to get around a foot long. So on the lower end of the size scale, care is, again, relatively easy. pH is neutral, but they'll have anywhere between 6. I know some Bichirs can go up to pH of 10.
What's the common name?
The common name for Poli Bichir, Poles Bichir or Marbled Bichir.
Gotcha.
So you put them on red sand, they come up with this beautiful green shimmer, and black sand as well. But red sand really, really brings out everything on. So yeah, colours are fantastic. I'd say Retropinnis is another good one. They can be a little bit sensitive, but they don't get very big. They like to be in groups. Delhaize is another great one. In fact, that's probably a lot of people's favourites. I mean, there's so much variation in Delhaize. Senegal's another one. Most people know Senegal anyway. Moklembembe is a great one. They're shy, but small, easy to keep.
What's the one that you caution people that they just probably should never touch, or only the experts should go? Like the most difficult species?
I mean, none really. They're all, as long as you've got a big tank, they're all easy to keep, I'd say. In fact, the hardest polypterid to keep, I'd say, is the ropefish. And they're not really that hard to keep. I mean, they can be quite sensitive, and mostly because of how they're caught. I know a lot of them are wild caught through soap pumping, and unfortunately a lot of them end up dying. But other than that, no, they're fairly easy, group of fish to keep.
So what type of pumping do you collect these fish at? You said some pumping?
Say again, sorry?
How do you...
No. So when some of them are collected, especially the rope fish, some of them are, there's like soap that's pumped into the water to force them to surface up. And that obviously strips a lot of their gills, and unfortunately a lot of them struggle to breathe and die. They get it with cyanide as well. Yeah, horrible.
Yeah, I've heard of cyanide with saltwater fish and stuff, but I've never heard of the soap.
Yeah, the soap one's bloody horrible for freshwater. I was going to order some a while back. There used to be a website in the UK called discountfish.co.uk. I've no idea what it's called now. But yeah, I emailed them saying, "Oh, have you got any rope fish in stock?" And they said, "Oh, we've stopped trading them now because we found out that our suppliers used to pump soap into the water to catch them, to get them from the surface. So because of that, we don't sell them anymore." I was like, "Oh, fair play. Cheers for letting me know." So, I mean, that's all I know about that. I mean, I've never been able to find any more information on it, but that's just something that Discount Fish have said.
More secrets you won't hear on other hobby places.
I've had a lot of people too that have bought saltwater fish. They've been fine for a week or two, and all of a sudden they'll be swimming and just float to the top and die. And that's just the cyanide that they're collected with has finally gotten to them.
It's 90%, I think. 90% of all aquarium fish caught with cyanide will die.
Yeah, and it can happen immediately. It can happen a month from now.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that explains this issue. So we have one more listener. A family member called me about a Bichir, bringing a Bichir home, and it died 30 minutes of getting it in the tank. Does it need certain acclimation process, or are they sensitive to certain water parameters in general? It looks like hemorrhaging under the skin.
Ooh. That's tricky to say. I mean, it could depend on acclimating it, or it could be, or it could have just been how it was caught, really. But yeah, if there was hemorrhaging under the skin, I know a lot of Bichirs can suffer from things like septicemia and things like that, but that normally happens in extremely overcrowded conditions. But then again, it could have got that because I know a lot of Indonesian bred species, or some that are kept in vats in Nigeria, they are kept in such cramped conditions right before they're shipped. So it could have possibly developed septicemia before, and then when it arrived, it wasn't in the best condition. It could have died. But again, I'm a vet, so don't trust any of my diagnoses. So
it's very hard.
That's just my opinion.
Anybody that sends us information about, hey, what do you think happened to my fish? It's all just us giving a best guess. We don't know until we get there, and most of the time, if a hobbyist walks in, looks at your tank, and goes, "Oh, well, that's why." So don't take any of the information that we're saying to heart. It may be many different reasons that we can't go, but these are some of them. And didn't know the cyanide thing, and I mean, cyanide does cause hemorrhaging. So that's a weird coincidence that we're talking about it.
Are you Russian or what? What are you saying?
Shut up, right?
I've recently got in contact with a fisherman called Ngandu. I'm not sure if I pronounced his name right. Ngado. He's this Cameroonian fisherman that's been sending me a lot of information about how he catches Bichirs in the wild. And one of the methods, he uses this type of potato-like plant. I can't remember the name, escapes me now. But he turns it into this thing called fufu, which is like a staple food for Cameroonians. And what they do is, normally when you turn this sort of potato-like thing into fufu, it gets rid of a lot of the cyanide, but there's still some degree of cyanide in there. So they take this, mashed fufu, and they, whisk it through the water. Especially they do it mostly in like the flood lake. So when the lakes overspill, a lot of the Bichirs will end up, the larger Bichirs and some of the smaller Bichirs will end up leaving the lake and traveling downriver. And then when they start to return, the larger ones are the main ones that return. So as they're returning back to the lake, what they do is they set up barrier traps. The barrier trap, named because of the name or something like that, but the barrier traps all the way around the lake, and to encourage them to go in the lake right away to be able to catch them through those barrier traps, they start washing this fufu in the water. Obviously, the fish rarely come into proper contact with it, but they end up swimming away from it directly into the barrier traps. So it's just a way of guiding them in there. But there is a degree of cyanide in there, but I don't think the levels are high enough for them, to suffer anything they can't recover from, shortly after. But again, when it comes to sustainable and ethical fishing in places like Cameroon, obviously, being sustainable isn't the highest concern at the moment. I mean, there's an ongoing civil war there as well. So a lot of people have lost their lives, and people are being butchered on the streets. It's not the nicest thing.
It's horrible.
But like I said, they do try their best though to make sure that they can always return to that spot the following season. So, I mean, I know Ngandu says he doesn't collect anything over, I think, 80 centimeters and anything under, I think, 15 centimeters, something along the lines of that. I can't remember the exact figures, but it's to make sure he respects the largest in the lake and allows time for the youngest to grow.
Man, after we do this podcast for a while, Jimmy, I think that we should have a podcast where we just list off what we've learned on where these fish come from. Having knowledge of how your fish are harvested, bred, or captively raised, any information is gold. I mean, the stories that we told people, we had a podcast that we did. It was called Sucks the Podcast. It's just an episode we did, and it was just us saying the things that people won't on YouTube or other content creators won't, because it creates controversy, or maybe, it enrages a PETA enthusiast. And we talked about, real issues of the hobby and, practical ways of how people get around them. And one of them was the betas. I mean, for many years, you told me this, Jimmy, and I definitely confirmed that, betas were shipped, because, again, betas have been bred for a long time. Betas are shipped on wet paper towels.
Layers of wet paper towel.
You just stack a bunch of moist paper towels, and because they could technically breathe through the paper towel, that's how they would ship them efficiently. So since then, people discovered this, animal rights groups, whatever else, and now they're, shipped in plastic bags like any other fish. They're smaller. They're intended, they're intended to have an air pocket made for the beta. They rebag them, every 3 days if there's any issues. And it's a much more humane process. But just like you said, the rope fish and the cyanide, identifying that, more people know about it means we can find better ways to change it.
And in this day and age with cyanide, I mean, first of all, it's not good for people, and it's not good for your water. It's not good for your fish, but yet they're still using it. And, there's been some stories about the Aborigines and stuff who've used different berries and stuff, which have a very high toxicity to fish. And, it's just different things that they've come up with over the years that works for them, because they're in third world countries and they're just trying to make a living. And I mean, to that point, you can kind of understand it, but to keep putting cyanide in the water, I mean, that water's going downstream and eventually somebody's going to drink it. And it's not good for anybody.
It's not the best, is it? Well, I think that's bad as well. In Indonesia, again, obviously I'm hearing this sort of secondhand from my boss who used to travel there. On the beaches in Indonesia, they've got these like aquarium stalls, these little markets. And because they've got right at the bottom of the beach, they have these little areas sectioned off where they're growing corals. So what they would do is they would go down to the beach, pick up a lot of the corals that they've raised, they'd bring them up to the stall, and they'd sell them there out of the water on these stalls. And because of this, they can't be asked. They will not walk back down to the beach at the end of the day to put them back in the water. They end up throwing them over the fence. And my boss said he saw this huge pile of just dead coral skeletons, loads of them, because they couldn't be asked to walk down to the end of the beach.
What the heck? That's unbelievable.
So confused. It's awful. Well, let's get on a happier note. We spun that down to a very dark place. So let's get on a happy note and talk about diseases. So,
there's a highlight of my day.
What's common health issues that you see? Generally, when I've had Bichirs in the past and helped other people, they're extremely hardy. I don't want to use the word bulletproof, but I mean, these things are chunky dinosaurs at the bottom of your tank. It takes quite a bit, in my experience, to kill these things. But what are some of the common illnesses or issues that you see with these types of fish?
Well, I think due to the nature of where you find them and how competitive it is, they have to do their best to hide disease well. So normally when you start to see symptoms on a Bichir, it normally may be too late to treat. Because, I mean, it's always worth treating anyway, but you can end up losing the fish once you start to see symptoms. Yeah, like I said, they're not bulletproof. Things will affect them. Probably one of the most common diseases, more parasite really, is Macrogyrodactylus polyteri, which is this type of worm, type of parasitic worm that will attach themselves to the gills, to the eyes, will spread all over them, and it ends up causing all sorts of scarring. The parasite itself won't kill the fish, but it's the scarring that invites pathogens and the disease that it also brings about. And yeah, they're an absolute cunt to kill. It's so hard. Most people that have been keeping polys for at least 2, 3, 4 years, I mean, they've probably been hit by it. They're sort of don't see them. They look like these tiny little fine hairs that have a little black gut. Horrible little things. But yeah, they're a pain to kill. So that's fairly common. I think what else is there? I mean, they get cloudy eye a lot, but that's because every now and then they might bite each other, scratch the eye, pathogens, all that lot. But yeah, the main one really is probably Macrogyrodactylus, that genus of parasitic worm.
I've only heard
There's
this.
multiple species, but it only affects polypterids.
I've only heard this once before, and I thought it was for rope fish, but that makes sense.
What do you treat with that? Is there anything?
Malachite green,
I've actually,
which is banned now in the U.S.
I don't really use malachite, to be honest. I've got the most effect. I mean, salt can kill them, but
Soap.
Salt's used all the bloody time. Yes, not soap, salt.
Oh, okay.
Salt. I thought we were putting Dawn dishwashing soap.
Oh, see, we have a meme.
Soap will kill them, but
We have a meme around here.
Fish do.
If anything's wrong, the flowchart is start with salt, and then if it doesn't cure it, go from there.
yeah, no. My friend Earl, who's been helping out with he unfortunately passed away last year, but he used to say that put enough salt in them, it would literally fucking blow them up. Probably explode the fucking parasites, but it's not something I've tried. I don't want to, put a fuckload of salt in there because I've got some fish that are sensitive to it. But
I'll pay $10 to see that. Oh, you have sunfish with these guys, you said.
So again, sunfish. There's some fish that will be sensitive to it.
Oh, I thought you said you had sunfish. Never
God,
mind.
you are.
I got excited because we got a lot of
I
people
wish I had
messaging about
sunfish.
sunfish. Apparently, we were finding out. Maybe you can help this. This is a tangent, but we've had
Praziquantel. That's the treatment. Praziquantel. That's it.
What the hell's that? Quantity
I've probably it's an ingredient that kills worms and flukes and things like that, but it seems to be the most effective for macrogyrodactylus. Christ,
I thought you were just making stuff up now.
he tried his best. So maybe you can tell us, being in UK, we have one listener that messages us quite a bit, but I've gotten a lot of feedback from people in the UK that love sunfish. Is that a normal thing to keep, or a popular thing to keep? We don't understand it because we have them native here and they're tasty. That's about all we do with them.
I don't know of a single person that keeps sunfish.
I
got really confused then because I thought you were talking about ocean sunfish. Are you actually talking about? You're not talking about ocean sunfish.
No, freshwater sunfish.
Freshwater. I was going to fucking say they're huge.
Yeah,
Freshwater sunfish.
They get big. It's like having a clam.
I know when it comes to fish, really oddballs. I know oddballs. Anything else, I'm like, what? What's
What?
that?
Oddballs?
Freshwater. I don't know. I just probably phallic fish, really. Yeah, no, I see.
He had to Google it.
You can't Google freshwater sunfish?
I had to Google it. I recognise it now, but no, I don't remember ever importing them.
They're delicious.
They're delicious.
retail.
Wonderful white fish.
Yeah.
Great with shore lunch in a fry pan.
There we go.
Right. So
I don't think it's a thing over here.
another question we have.
Might be.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Yeah, I don't think they're a thing over here. I mean, there might be, but
I'm pretty sure it's just
I
a
just had to
handful of
Google it,
people.
so-
We were lucky enough to interact with them. But we have a question. How do you sex Bichirs?
anal fin. Anal fin and the shape of the tail fin. Or the tail fin's less definitive, so let's go with the anal fin. Males have large, muscular, wide anal fins. Females have a lot more thinner, trowel-shaped anal fins. The reason why the males are so wide is because obviously they have to cup to catch the eggs.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's just as simple as the anal fin. You can sex them very early on. Some people say you got to wait till they're a certain age. Sometimes, yeah, but I mean, you can normally. It's fairly easy to sex them from when they're like 4 or 5 inch up. So, but it's a lot easier when they're a bit bigger.
Is aggression different between male and female?
If the male hasn't had the opportunity to breed when it's sexually mature, it might be a little bit more bitey. I mean, I did have.
Aren't
one
we all?
Senegal yeah.
I mean,
But no, I did have a Senegal that was proper aggro when I didn't have a sexually mature female in the tank. So, and he did kill one of my Leprades, which is bizarre because I hadn't heard of a Senegal doing that before. But I'm hearing of it a little bit more now. But yeah, it's not a huge problem really, as long as you females in the tank.
He was just looking for love in all the wrong places.
He was.
Jimmy and his music references.
That's right.
Well,
What that Phil Collins playing?
what information have we starkly missed in our review of Bichirs?
Oh, I think you covered it a lot, really. I mean, there's some species that used to live in South America in the fossil record. When it comes to the fossils, I bloody love them. I mean, there's Bichirs. There's one called Boetius bartelli, or maybe Barthelli. I can't remember, but they could reach over 9 feet long. Bloody huge things. The Spinosaurus was supposedly, would eat them. They lived in the same area in Egypt. There's also, back then, the Cenomanian age, when there was a big diversity of Bichirs, I think it was the second boom in diversity. There was all sorts of different types. There was one as well called Serenoichthyes kemkemensis, which was found in the Kemkem beds in Morocco. And it was only like 3.5 centimeters or 2.5 centimeters long. And I think we could tell it was fairly mature at that point, and it wasn't a juvenile because it had branched fin rays. And normally when a ray fin fish has got branched fin rays, and you normally tell it's either maturing or it's mature already. So we think it's probably safe to say that it was a mature specimen, maybe not quite full grown, but maybe full grown. And yeah, I think 3, maybe 2 fossils have been found. It was probably the most complete fossil that was found, except for Polypterus pharo, which was a more recent Bichir that was discovered, which, funnily enough, is identical in almost every way to Polypterus bichir, which is one of the more popular, and sought after Bichir species. But obviously you can't see its markings or anything like that, but that was found completely whole. Serenoichthyes was found completely whole, but the first time it was found, it had no head. And then the next fossil that was found, it had the head. But for the book, we've reconstructed about 4 species, including Bichirs, Serenoichthyes, one from South America, and one that was a close relation between the ropefish and Polypterus bichir. So, but obviously, those two, those smaller ones were those lesser known ones were only found by small skull fragments or scales. So there's a lot of creative license into reconstructing them.
Must be a lot of work, much less artist renditions.
Oh, yeah. Oh no, it was good fun. We had 2 paleontologists who were helping out with it as well, and a paleo artist on it. So I think he's done a pretty good job. He finished doing them about a month or 2 ago now. So yeah.
I love how you have it listed on the website, paleo artist. Like that is a cool job right there.
Oh yeah, I love, honestly, when it comes to paleo art and speculative zoology, fucking love it. It's just one of those things where it's illustration, prehistoric life, and it just comes together. And you're like, yes, we can finally see what they look like. Because that's Serenoichthyes and those 3 other species as well that I was talking about, except for Bichirs, none of them were reconstructed before. So no one really knows completely what they look like, except for the fossil specimens. So we've ended up adding certain colors. And when it comes to Bichir's markings as well, they have a very limited set of genes which only allows limited sets of markings, which is why almost every Bichir you see, their markings are a combination of dorsolateral bars, lateral bars, and some form of speckling. You won't see any cooler, unique features on there like ocelli or anything like that, just because it's not really a marking that they've been able to produce, we don't think. So just because of their limited sets of genes.
I can't wait for the book. I can't. He's got me sold. I'm like, keep going. Don't stop.
So you got any interesting stories while writing this book?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Not just about stories about writing the book. I think he said before the podcast started that he had this wonderful, off-topic story about a certain person named David.
It's horrible, but it's funny. I look back on this and laugh now, but I do feel a sense of dread.
Well, I'm glad. Let's make this uncomfortable some more.
Yes, that's what we're here for.
Okay, there was a quote that I wanted to use that a certain famous conservationist, said. And it was this quote I really wanted to use in the book, and I found out I had to get permission. So obviously this person is David Attenborough.
For those that don't know, if you've listened to any nature documentary like Blue Planet, Planet Earth, he's that amazingly sultry British voice that you hear narrating every bit of it. So
I used to be part of a university magazine years back called Life magazine, and we contacted him a while before. We wrote him a letter to find out if he wanted to help out, but he was busy filming Blue Planet, so we couldn't get him involved. But he wrote back to us. So I emailed the editor of that magazine saying, "Oh, have you got the contacts for him again?" And he said, "Oh no." She said his email is just online. You can just pick it up and just send him an email or an address. So I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, I'll do that." So I ended up going on this website somewhere. It looked official, David Attenborough Productions or something like that. And I found a phone number on there. So I thought, okay, well, I'll give this a ring before I send a letter out. And I go to ring it. And obviously this is like during the height of the pandemic. I thought that maybe no one will answer, or if someone does answer, it'll be it'll be a receptionist or something like that. The man himself answers, and me being a bit gobsmacked, I sort of freeze up and I just sort of hear this old man say hello, and I sort of say, oh, hello, I'm looking to get in contact with David Attenborough, and he says, yes, speaking. And I thought he said, yes, it's me speaking. So I go, oh wow, but it's so amazing to be able to talk to you. But no, he said, no, I said, who is speaking? And I'm like, fuck. So I panic and start. Yeah, I panic and start like explaining who I am. I end up, you could probably tell I'm waffling a little bit already, but I started waffling even more to David Attenborough, and he got a little bit agitated. And because I said, you've encountered Bichirs before in your program or your TV series Africa. So it was episode 3, Africa. No, it was Africa, episode 3, the Congo, where there was a Congo Bichir hunting another fish. And I said that to him, and he said, "I've never done a series in Africa," and that really got me off guard. And I was like, I corrected him. I was like, no, you have.
Oh, you have. You could have just let it go, bro.
I should have. I just fucking didn't expect. Anyway, I corrected him, and he said, "Oh, well, if you send me a letter, then perhaps I'll look at it." And okay. So I'm in the middle of writing a letter to him, like a letter of apology, sort of saying sorry for correcting you. And I'm still really confused that he said he didn't do a series in Africa. But then maybe I'm thinking he just got a little bit pedantic and called me out because I said maybe it was a TV series and not a program or a documentary. Maybe. But it's all a blur what I said, so I may not have said TV series, or I may have said it. I don't know.
Okay, clearly you're a David Attenborough fan. I'm just saying.
I mean, not only did I piss him off, but I corrected him, my idol, and I sort of feel a bit like a.
That was it? I thought it was going to be something more.
No, that was it. That was. I mean, I wish it was more. But,
so have you written him a letter?
Sorry to be a bit. I've not written him a letter yet, but that was it. I mean, to me, that was a big deal.
Well, David Attenborough, if you're listening to this podcast,
which he's not.
Number one, we huge fans. There's many a Saturday afternoon that I've spent listening to your sultry voice. And 2, Josh is very, very sorry, and he just wants your autograph already.
I'm just assuming that they probably just hand him a script sometimes, and he just probably reads it and doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about.
Well, he doesn't have to. He's just that, essentially the white Morgan Freeman.
That's correct.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Got that beautiful voice.
Yeah, he is super clued up. I think he's like the most traveled man on the planet or something. Yeah, it was posted fairly recently.
Oh, it has to be.
So, so I'm sort of thinking, fuck, he knows his shit. So I was thinking that he probably remembers Bichirs. But I thought maybe he doesn't, just to be on the safe side. I'll explain what they are. And he turns out maybe it's old age kicking and he didn't really remember going to Africa, but I'm hoping that's not the case.
So for those that are listening, David Attenborough's personal number is posted somewhere out there. We're not going to share it with you. I swear to God, if you email us, we're not going to give it to you.
It's not his personal, it's his office number, but apparently he does answer the office number every now and then. Because it said on the website somewhere, don't be upset if he doesn't answer the phone. And I'm thinking, there's a chance he'll answer the phone?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I can piss him off? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
they should have underlined it. May answer Telly.
Write a letter. God.
That was a great story. I think you should write him a letter, and we should revisit this here in a few months and see if he's answered you. Or maybe,
I reckon he will.
Yeah. What's interesting about him, he's been involved in so many projects over so many years, he probably doesn't have a clue what happened yesterday.
I just looked up. He's 94.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't know what happened yesterday.
Like, he may have been on a date with Betty White. We don't know.
I hope he knows Betty White.
I love Betty White. I love Betty White.
Oh, whoa.
Lake Placid.
Welcome to...
Oh, Lake Placid is one of the best films she's ever did.
Yes.
Welcome to the podcast. Betty White is a true gem in this podcast.
Yeah.
My favorite quote by her. If I had a dick, this is where I tell you to suck it.
There you go.
Best one.
All right. I don't think the podcast can get better than that. So, Josh, do you have any last minute comments?
I think I've covered it all, really.
Well, for those that are listening, you can find, again, it's the BichirHandbook.com. It has more information on the upcoming book. The cost, again, it is in the looks like the British pound, euro. I'm not exactly sure that price symbol. I'm not educated. Forgive me.
Yeah, British pound. Worth mentioning on there as well. When it comes to shipping might be expensive. So shipping could be around £20. But I am trying to secure something with this company called Logical Choice Group. I'm sort of trying to secure shipping costs and things like that. So they'll do it worldwide. So hopefully that will reduce shipping costs because they'll do all sorts of fulfillment there. But if it's just me shipping them out myself, shipping could cost then, depending where you are in the world, up to 20, 24 quid. So pretty much the same price as the book, which no one likes really, which is why I've tried to keep the price as low as fucking possible.
Maybe we should get a hold of David Attenborough because he travels the world. You could give him like 100 copies. He could just drop them off when he's in your neighborhood.
Oh, mate, if only. I wanted him to do the bloody forward for the book as well. No chance of that, I don't think.
So when you contacted him, were you hoping just to get some insider information, or what was the reason by
the quote? He wanted the quote.
Yeah, I just wanted that quote. It was something about conservation. You can't preserve something. No, that was McColgie's quote. It was something similar to if you can't preserve something, you can't really. If you don't know something, you can't preserve it. Along the lines of that. But that's McColgie's quote, that one. But Attenborough done a similar quote too. McColgie's, I think, is better.
So it's kind of his thing, and you wanted to get permission to use it.
Yeah.
Did you ever ask that then, or not? Did you ever get a chance to?
I'm looking to get permission for a quote, and then that was when I sort of fucked up the conversation and pushed him up a little bit.
So what he's saying is it's not in the book, and instead he'll have the quotes from the Aquarium Guys podcast.
That's right. You can use anything.
If I had a dick, here's where you tuck it.
That's right.
Definitely have that Betty White quote in there.
Thank you, Betty White. No, but for those that are looking for the book, that's the website. There's certainly, is there still opportunity for people to advertise or help support it in any way? Is there a Kickstarter fund that people can throw money at you?
I was thinking about doing that. I was going to do pre-ordering at some point, but honestly, I haven't had the time to set anything like that up at the moment. I'm doing do you know Ivan McColgie?
I cannot say I do.
Oh, legendary river explorer in Venezuela. I'm doing his the graphic design for his book at the moment. It was something like 300, 400 pages, and that sort of took up all my time at the moment. Spending after work evenings and then bloody weekends working on it. So I haven't had much time for mine at the moment, but my book's pretty much done. So there's still time if anyone wants to advertise in there. Just ping me an email, the Bichirs handbook at gmail.com, and I can send out a media pack. So if you want to advertise, just ping me a message.
Wonderful.
There's probably like a month. Because when it comes to right before print, I've got plenty of time. I can just slap in an advert in the back or front, wherever.
Well, maybe with luck, we can slap some Aquarium Guy in the back. You never know.
I think we should put Betty White in the back. That'd sell.
Oh, absolutely. She's open royalty, right? We don't have to pay her for that?
None.
Excellent. Well, thanks again for coming on. Excited for the book. Hopefully in the future we can talk to you because clearly you do help with a lot of different books and projects. We were wanting to talk to you and see before you leave that if you do the handbook on feeder guppies, endlers. So let us know. Contact us. But, our people will talk to your people.
And we'll do lunch.
But again, appreciate you staying up so late with us.
Only gone past my bedtime by half hour, you fuckers.
Well, it's like 4:00, 4:30 here, and we're just going to start drinking now. So you go to Betty Bye, and we'll talk shit about you.
I will. You bastards. That's fine.
Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah, 3 go.
All right. Well, thanks, Josh. And guys, if you like what you hear in the Aquarium Guys podcast, go to the website, aquariumguyspodcast.com. On the website, there's a link to donate, buy merch. Send us feedback or just a text message to Jimmy saying that he is the Arnold. So we'll see you next week.
Hey, thanks a lot again, Josh. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.
Thanks, guys, for listening to the podcast. Please go to your favorite place where podcasts are found, whether it be Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever they can be found. Like, subscribe, and make sure you get push notifications directly to your phone so you don't miss great content like this.
I never knew that a Minnesota accent could be so sexy until I heard Adam's voice.
Go f*** yourself, don't you know?
That's my boy, don't you know?